What's going on? So I got another project with the truck. I have a special guest. This is Stephanie, my helper. So she might be in a couple more videos, I'm hoping. But she's been hanging out with me for a couple of years now, and I've been training her how to fix stuff, work on stuff, modify stuff, all types of things. The one video actually I have up with the Scion TC, it's actually her car. She crashed it. They tried to dupe her. It was destroyed. It was beyond repair. She called me up and said, wait a minute, this is what you taught me. Does this sound right? It doesn't sound right. And I said, no. So she brought it to me. I fixed it. She's still driving it. What do you think? It's good?
It's good.
It's good.
It runs well.
It runs well. It's paid for, and she's going. So anyway, I got the video up of this truck with that funky rattle coming from the back, showing the drivetrain. Thank you very much to all of you who have given me the ideas that I need now to go ahead and try to figure out what this rattle is. So it's the high-pitch rattle squeak type of situation. A couple of you commented and said that yes, you have the same issue. Some of you telling me that there's a TSB on the leaf spring stack. That's fine, but if the suspension is oscillating up and down, you're going to get that squeak, squeak, squeak. This is more when you're slamming into bumps. And from another viewer had told me it seems like to him that it's actually like when you're stepping on the brake slightly. And after him telling me that, I tried it, and that's basically what it is. When you're going down a hill and you have your foot on the brake lightly, and the suspension's oscillating up and down, that's when it happens. So I'm figuring that we're going to attack the brake caliper and also the pads. So something could be loose on the caliper, and also the pads are bouncing up and down. So let's jump into this. I'm going to jack it up, get the tires and rims off, and we'll put the jack stand under for safety, always safety, and then we're going to try this out. Okay, everybody, we got the tire off. You got your caliper right here. Your brake pads are inside here, and this, as you apply the brake, the bracket is mounted to the actual rear end, and this crushes the pads into and squeezes it into this rotor here. So that's basically what I'm hearing. So it's definitely something with this, the brake caliper or pads, because that is definitely what I'm hearing. So now we'll take this apart. So basically all you need to do is you have the two retaining bolts right here with these rubber accordion gaskets here. Make sure you don't damage these. This keeps the road salt, water, and everything out of these slides. They're little pins that slide back and forth. So make sure you don't damage these. They have to seal correctly. So we're going to pop these off. They should be about a 12mm socket, and then we'll get those off. Okay, we got a 12mm socket on. When you get this caliper off, when you take the caliper off any car, do not let it hang by the hose. I've heard it from several teachers of mine through diesel school and also through automotive school. I don't know if it's really a myth. I really don't want to find out, but I'd rather just do what they say, and that's basically don't let it hang from that hose. And then you'll see this rubber hose right here. They all have it. Try not to let it hang on it. A lot of rust right there. So we're going to set this up right here so that's nice and, what do we got here? We're going to pull this pad off. Pad's in pretty good condition still. You can see where it's been moving, different sections. Now it's not making the noise. So I'm going to put glue here. I'm going to put some glue right in here. And then I'm gonna actually put a tiny bit. Some people don't like to do it. I'm not going to make a huge debate about this, but I do use a little bit of the brake stop squeak compound on some of the vehicles that I do the jobs on, whether it's the brake drums or even the rotors. I just put a tiny bit. It does tend to bring a little bit of the dirt in, but as long as you're doing your regular routine maintenance of your brakes and everything, it's not like you're going to do 100,000 miles and this stuff's going to turn into almost like a paste or a glue. You just want to do it very lightly just to stop that rattle, squeak, or whatever is going on. We're going to slide those back in. So this one right here, you can see exactly what's going on here. We're gonna pull this apart. Let me see if I can. Make sure you're using very clean tools. You don't want any grease or anything on the rotors or the pads for that matter. It has to remain extremely clean. If you get any type of grease, oil, or anything on this rotor or the brake pads, when you start stepping on the brake, you're going to get this pulsation in your brake pedal, and you don't want that. So we're going to hit this with a little bit of brake cleaner. The red. Okay, gonna put this back together correctly. That. Make sure that pops into place. Now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna lube these just a slight bit. This is where it slides right in here. Just like that. So from here we're gonna put these back on. Just like that. Now right in here where the caliper meets up with the two brake pads, I'm going to put, they actually have, this is actually a disc brake quiet. It's more like a glue. So I'm going to put this on here. Some people use this and some people don't. Generally, what Ford and Toyota tend to have, they have pieces of wire that go to each brake pad, and it holds them together. It keeps them from rattling and making noise. It seems like GM decided against it and they didn't do it, so more than likely these brake pads are probably just rattling around in place and they're squeaking. So this will help kind of keep them secure. And if this doesn't work, then we'll try something else, but we'll go from there. Make sure these two slide bolts right here they're nice and free. We're going to set this back in like that. Put our two bolts back in. Now these are kind of special bolts. You'll see that have a flat spot. That flat spot matches up with the caliper. If you can't get it in and you're having a problem, more than likely these two flat spots are not lined up correctly. So that one is in. We got to get the bottom one. Line that flat spot up right there. And we're going to tighten these down. I would suggest not using air tools with this. Use a wrench. You don't want to over tighten them because you can break these. They're very small. And there you go. No more squeak. No more rattle. We're going to repeat the process on the other side, and we're going to let it sit for a couple of hours, and then we're going to take it for a test ride. So now that we got everything set, I do have the other tire on, but I still need to bleed the brakes. I'll just crawl under there in a second. I figured I would just get over to this other side. So now from here, what you need to do is, before you do anything else, you got both brake calipers on, you got them lightly lubed, and you have the glue on. Now you have to bleed the brakes, because, you know, when you take any type of brake component apart, sometimes there's a tiny bit of air that gets in there. Air creates a spongy pedal, which relates to, you know, you not stopping as efficient, because if you're towing with this vehicle, you want to make sure it's right on the money. So what we're going to do is we're going to pump up the brake with the truck off, just to make sure that the brake pedal is on the harder side. So we're going to go over here, and Stephanie's going to pump up the brake pedal. Going to start pumping it slowly. And then you're going to let back up, and you're going to do it about three or four times till you feel it nice and stiff. Okay, at this point you're going to find the bleeder, which is in the back of the caliper, or on the top if you're doing another vehicle and you're watching this video. So the bleeder is right here. It has a little rubber cap on it. You have to get the rubber cap off. Try not to lose it. Lose it because you have to put it back on. So you're going to put that up on something out of the way. You're going to take, let's see, a 10mm wrench, and then you're going to crack it. You're just going to crack it open, and what you're going to watch is the end of this bleeder valve here. Once it starts going, you'll probably see one or two bubbles. After those bubbles and you see a nice flow, you're going to just close it back up. So you're going to give it about a quarter turn or so till you start seeing it flow. It's dripping now. So right about there should be good, and we're going to close it up. That's all it takes. You just want to make sure that there's zero air in the system. And then we're going to close it up like that. You could keep some of the oil on it. It'll just make it easier for the cap to go on. Like that, and you're good. I'm just going to clean this off a little bit. And that's how you bleed the brakes. I'm going to do the other side, and then I'm going to put this tire on, the lug nuts, and then we're going to torque the lug nuts down. Okay, I just want to give a word of advice when you're putting this stuff on. If you have an electric impact, an air impact, a battery powered impact, or anything else, do not start your lug nuts with them, because once you cross thread these, you got to take the whole assembly apart. The studs have to be popped out of the axles, and then the new one put back on. So just it's a little, you know, it's a little slower, but just use your hands to at least start the lug nuts, because the other side, the one I was having a little bit of trouble. It happens. You just got to play with it, and then you'll feel it spin on freely. If you don't feel it spin on freely, then there's something wrong. Take it back off and then try again. So obviously the truck is relatively on the new side. These spin very easily. So I tend to just use my hands to the point where they go on. And then, like the other side, I kind of quick go around to get the the rim itself centered. And then once it's centered, then from there I torque it down. But even with the air impact and your battery powered or the corded impacts, be very careful try to do a start pattern. Okay, that's enough with the air impact. Then on your torque wrench, just double check yours, because from what I understand, for some reason, the different years, they're finding different torque specs. So on this one, I'm doing, on this one here, I'm doing 130, give or take. Just double check your owner's manual. Make sure that your year, your model, whether it's the diesel, the gas, the V6, the 4-cylinder, whatever you have, just make sure that you have the right torque spec. Then a lot of times it's a lot easier just to have somebody help you. They'll step on the brake for you, or lightly put the truck back down on the ground so that it doesn't spin while you're torquing it. So Stephanie's going to step on the brakes and I'm going to torque the tire. Step on the brake.
Stepping.
Okay, now from here, we're pretty much set. I have both sides of the brakes. They're both been lightly lubricated, glued. The brakes have been bled. Both rims and tires are mounted. They're torqued down. From here, what I'm going to do is, just to give everything a time to sit and settle, the glue at least, I'm going to just park the truck for a couple of hours, and then we're going to take it for a test ride and see if this fixes that rattle. As you can see, the whole brake thing worked for the most part. So I took the truck on a test drive, and basically what is going on now is the high-pitch rattle squeak noise went away completely. I'm not sure you could actually hear it. You probably can't in the video of the drive shaft and the suspension movement and oscillating up and down. You can't really hear it, but I can with the windows fully open. There's a little tiny bit of a different type of squeak now. So what I did do was I retorqued, or I tightened down the U-bolts for the axles that mount to the leaf spring. So I tightened those down, and this is what it looks like. So as you can see, all I did was I basically took this breaker bar with a deep socket. It's a 13/16 standard deep socket. I used the more of the 6-point, 12-point will work too. do not try to use a wrench on it, like a channel locks or whatever. You're not going to do it. You need to use something like this. Get yourself a breaker bar from Home Depot or Lowe's with a 13/16 socket, deep socket, or borrow one. Basically, just crank down on those bolts. Try to do it more or less evenly. Pretty much, I took it for a test ride after tightening up the U-bolts also. Now everything is gone. It's eliminated all the squeaks, all the rattles, everything's set. So if your dealership's not going to warranty it, because when it comes to the brakes, especially the brake pads, calipers are a little different. Calipers, if they're blown out or they're leaking, they really should warranty those for the 3-year, 36, or if you got the extended warranty, or 7-year, 75, or 10-year, 100,000, they should warranty the caliper. As far as the rotor goes and the brake pads, it gets a little sketchy, because they're going to tell you, well, it's driver error, it's a wearable item, we're not going to warranty it, so therefore you're going to have to pay at least the troubleshooting and the labor to take it apart, put the glue like I did, and lube the different slides and put everything back together, or put a whole set of new brake pads on it. I would try to go to the dealer, see if they'll do it for free. If they don't do it for free, it's very simple. Just jack the truck up, make sure you use jack stands. Always use jack stands. These jacks have a little tiny valve. If that valve fails, the vehicle is going to come down on top of you. So it takes 2 more seconds. Whether it's blocks of wood, cinder blocks, brick, whatever you can jam up underneath the vehicle just for that added safety. Take the tire off, get yourself a 12mm wrench or socket, take the 2 bolts off, slide it out, do what you need to do with the glue and the lube, put it back on, tighten those 2 bolts up, then just make sure you bleed the brakes and put everything back together. This way it'll save you a lot of headaches. The squeaking's going to go away. It'll drive probably a little better. You know, it's just, it's aggravating having all these stupid little squeaks. So I'm hoping this video really helped out a lot of people. I know there's a couple more of you that said, oh, I have the same exact thing, I'm trying to figure it out myself. I figured it out. Just, you know, do both of them. You're going to be under there anyway. If you can, do the brake pads, lube them, put the glue, and get under there with your breaker bar. Tighten all 4 bolts up on both sides on the U-bolts, and all the noise will go away. So that wraps it up for this video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.